in the Tibetan Kalachakra teachings, which is the teachings the Dalai Lama holds, their perspective on what's going on right now is that the wheel of time, the way which is time, which is the passage of the evolutionary process that we have mapped in terms of linear time. So we've been living inside a construct of separation that has been mapping time as a linear process, which is a false map of time. It's imposed human constructs over time. And that's part of the separation pattern that we're living in, is a Gregorian calendar that's unmoored from the moon and unmoored from the equinoxes and the solstices and the quarter holidays. You could call them holidays, or the quarter passages of the cycles of the Gaian process. So we've been living inside this, which in the Greek would be called chronos, Saturn, linear structure, time. So we're living inside this, and it's like speeding up, and it's eating things faster. It's making bigger messes, and those messes are exponentiating back to like the exponential curves that Rachel spoke to yesterday. What she didn't speak about is the impact that those exponential curves have on biological systems. And we're biology. We're not technology. We are not digital. We are analog, biological beings. So in those exponential curves, like this wheel is speeding up. And in the Kala chakra, I need two hands to show you this.
The wheel spins like this, and it spins a second wheel like a clock.
And I learned as I learned this prophecy that the Dalai Lama apparently is obsessed with taking clocks apart and putting them back together, because it's like a study of this time wheel. Because as the destruction speeds up, it's turning an opposite wheel, which is the wheel of an emergent way of living in time, which is kairotic time. So we've got Chronos over here, and the Chronos is like currently, Chronos has a place, but Chronos, that kind of living in time, is currently functioning as a death engine. And as that death engine increases, it's spinning another wheel, and that wheel is starting to spin faster. And that wheel is the reciprocal wheel. It's the regenerative wheel. It's the wheel within which we all align with the unique design of our souls. And in aligning with that, and aligning with the way that all of nature is ensouled and wants us to be responsive to it, we activate a wheel of an emergent way of living in our bodies, as our souls, in time, in harmony with the larger rhythms that we're embedded inside of. So that to me is ceremony for a small planet. So that's what I came to talk with you guys about. Is a ceremony we can't not be in, because we incarnated at this time, and our ancestors co-created this opportunity, which on one level you can see this separation as an age that a Gaian planet goes through. So we live on this blue-green planet, this complex life-bearing planet, that somehow water arrived here. It wasn't here at the beginning. We don't know how it got here. Did you guys know that? Mind-blowing fact. So somehow water came to this planet and decided to collaborate with this planet, and it collaborated with matter, the matter that was already here, and like complex molecules of stardust that was constructed in the early galaxy to boot up the beginning of life. And the beginning of life, there was never one common ancestor. The beginning of life was many, many, many. You can only start life because the statistical dynamics enable many, many, many people, many pre-cellular life forms activating. I have a theory that the key to changing what we're in right now is a replication of the beginning of life, that the solution lives in the many, not in the few. So that happened. Many stages happened. Finally, a species like ourselves arose, and in the way that I see this, Gaia is a thing in the universe. So we live on a complex life-bearing blue-green planet, and there are other complex life-bearing planets. They might not all be blue-green. Someone told me they came from a pink planet. last night, there are pink photosynthesizing beings, so there could be a pink and blue planet. I've been to the pink moss ecology in Costa Rica, and the top of the mountains in Costa Rica is mostly pink. I didn't get to tell you that last night. So we are Gaians on a Gaian planet, and the planet made us and manifested this category of organism that I call a creator, preserver, destroyer. That's what humans are. We're a category of organism that arises in a Gaian process. And you could imagine that there are other Gaias throughout the metaverse that are water-bearing planets that have booted up complex life, and that on a Gaia, a certain stage arises where this kind of organism arises who can make or break worlds. They are creators, and if we add in the whole Hindu trinity of the harmonics of creation, we are creator, preserver, destroyer beings. And these creator, preserver, destroyer beings, on some Gaias, though not all of them, generate an age of separation. They go through this teenage phase where they're like, we just need to know that we're not nature. We just need to know how to do math, how to do science, how to understand ourselves subjectively as these very complex selves, how to understand the world objectively. Let me poke that, and let me measure that, and then let me take it apart, and then let me make something else with it. I'm gonna use my capacity for abstraction to extract things and purify them and make them more refined and efficient. And we end up with silicon chips and spaceships and microwaves and synthetic fabric and plastics. And we end up making a whole bunch of things that don't map to the interbeing of the rest of the creation that made us, because we were really busy being in a teenage phase, or we got to understand ourselves. Is that all making sense to you? I'm seeing nods. So this is the setup. We are all coming out, you're here, so you're definitely choosing the initiatory process, which from a Gaian perspective, as a Gaian on a Gaian planet, is I'm really trying to be an adult, but not according to the system I grew up in. Not interesting to do separations version of adulting. No. But really, I care about what's going on right now and my possibility of engaging a next level of intelligence and integrity and co-creativity to be useful to myself and my community and my ecologies and the possible future for my own kids and my friends' kids and all the other beings who we share this creation with, the baby fish and the baby dogs and the baby birds and baby worms and the baby insects. Does anyone else here cry over insect death? I claim absolute, I don't want to say I'm guilty for that, I just do that. Starving dolphins and insect population collapse make me cry. So we're trying to be the beings who are wait, this doesn't make sense. I want to be the people who can make sense of this. So with that in mind, are you on that game with me? Yeah. Are you in the ceremony? And so what I call a person who claims that is, I call a person who claims that a true human. And true humans are those who have remembered and are singing their part in life's song. And so that simple insight of being a creator, preserver, destroyer being, and recognizing that the way we've structured creativity up to this point has been fundamentally destructive. And so instead getting curious about how your creativity can be reciprocal or regenerative is a really fundamental shift. This is Consciousness Day, and so I'm talking from a place of what kind of consciousness is useful. And so I'm talking to us today about what kind of consciousness I think is useful, which is consciousness of how we interact and relate with this place. So with all of this in mind, and speaking to you as true humans, I'm going to read to you a passage from my upcoming book that tells the story of one of the angles that I received this download from. I don't usually use the word download, but this was a thing that came to me very spontaneously. And I want to share this with you because I think you will see yourself in it. And then we will do a process with each other. We're going to go into council with each other so we all come out of here with a deeper root in this knowing. So in the summer of 2015, I had just moved away from a farm, like the Dream Life Farm, the 40-acre biodynamic permaculture organic seed farm where I tended my ceremonies and had a sweat lodge and had epic relationship with the community and tended all my medicine, phenomenal life. Turns out the farmer that I was in partnership with was just not really capable of meeting me all the way, kind of a handful. And I had to leave the farm and the two boys who I had step-parented 80% of the time for 2 years. And so I was kind of shell-shocked. I had just left the home that my soul had visioned and manifested that I couldn't stay in because it wasn't my farm. So that's kind of the setup for this little story. And I moved to Ashland, Oregon, into a little house on top of the hill, and I called it Eagle's Nest, and set up my little altar there. And that was the summer where the Kalmiopsis burned. So the land there in southern Oregon, and a lot of Oregon is roadless wilderness, and the second largest roadless wilderness in the country is right there, and that wilderness burned all summer. And they don't put the fires out there, which is part of them reinstantiating a more indigenous way of managing the land. And so for 60 days straight, no one had seen sunlight. Imagine that. Take that in. Some of you maybe have experienced this, but 60 days straight, no one has seen sunlight. We've been inside all summer long with our air filters on. And the air finally clears. And I'm out hiking, and then a notification comes in, and Harbin is burned down. Do you guys know about Harbin Hot Springs? Anybody know about Harbin Hot Springs? So Harbin Hot Springs is sacred land in Northern California that was my home space. I manifested my last major life work there and had spent thousands and thousands of hours there, and this precious, precious, precious hot springs community place burned down. So there we are again, 60 days no sun, Harbin burns down, another home gone. And I had cultivated this friendship with these two really quirky guys, amazing, creative, quirky guys who were doing story-based marketing. And I was on a podcast with them. And they were live time doing this thought experiment about manifesting our highest archetype and telling the story of this archetype to bring in our greatest powers and our greatest gifts and our greatest offerings to the world. And this energy just came through me, and this is the story that came through. My name is Samaya Storm. I am an ancestor from the future. I've come to you in the summer when your world is burning to awaken your potential. I come from a future where humans have mastered their creative capacities in conscious service to peace, symbiosis, and the ongoing evolution of all of life. I come from a time of great harmony, when technology has been placed in service to humanity and natural living systems, a time when creativity and beauty flourish. For humans and for all the other beings, all of us together. We know no poverty, no war, no separation. We live in communion with the divine in life. organizing our consciousness and human systems in integrity with the well-being and full expression of all souls. In the future I come from, the world story and system you currently take as normal has become a precautionary mythology. You are at the end stage of separation that has allowed you to differentiate from your planetary mother. In my time, we honor the stage of separation as an adolescent phase of human development that brought about the advancement of our sciences, technologies, global capacities, and ecocosmic consciousness, and which ultimately forced us to turn our attention back towards biological and ecological processes as the primary locus for the evolution of consciousness itself. I'm going to say that again. So the whole phase of separation ultimately forced us to turn our attention back towards biological and ecological processes as the primary locus for the evolution of consciousness itself. The mess we made during the age of separation obviated the necessity for us to align our vast creative capacities with the song of life at a planetary scale. Separation initiated our maturation. In our time, we have developed life-centric and soul-centric constructs of self and civilization. We live by a radically different meta-story than you. Our world story assumes that humanity is part of a larger ecological and cosmic wholeness. You see, we humans are beings uniquely designed to tend the beauty, abundance, diversity, and continuity of the world. This story collectively harmonizes the human project with the Earth project and makes us worthy of the galactic status that you are currently reaching towards. I have traveled down the living memory of water to bring myself through a wormhole in her transdimensional memory. I come to help you find the timeline to the future I come from. I am here to keep that doorway open. My birth into this world was a maelstrom of smoke and improbability. I rose gasping and fully grown from a lake surrounded by flames. I swam to shore, bedraggled and lost. I knew I had to find my way in this inhospitable time and place. My heroine's journey, my sacred task, has been to sustain the memory of who I am and shape myself as a woman who can effectively share the stories, metaphysics, and sacred practices that can steer us towards the future I come from. Fuck. I have had to discover how, within the context of your current world system, to be a friend, a leader, a guide, a teacher. I had to restore trust in myself to become a trustworthy voice that you could receive. I come to you now in this burning summer to help remember yourself to life. In the future I come from, we know ourselves as the ones who came home. Thanks for receiving the transmission. So in the future I come from, we know ourselves as the ones who came home. Which just might mean in the future you come from, we know ourselves as the ones who came home. There is a postscript to that story that I do want to share, is that a year later, Santa Rosa burned down and a picture arrived on my desktop of the lake that I envisioned when I told that story. So I'm fairly confident that there's some reality to these timelines. There's been other confirmations. Does anyone else have future memories? Beautiful. Beautiful. So, in this ceremony for the future, for this small planet, this ceremony for this small planet, we are remembering. What are we remembering? We're remembering who we are. What do we mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean by that. I mean that I am remembering that at the very core of what I am is emptiness, surrounded by the geometry that makes me unique. The uniqueness of my soul that I came here to inhabit, that I came here to gift, that I came here to interact with all the other uniquenesses that are here. So who I am is Samaya Storm, Samantha Sweetwater, Ebede, Jabulisa. I have a lot of names. I'm all those names. And I'm this one, and it feels like, and the way you liberate that is not so much through story, but through the felt sense of being, doing you, becoming you. So the being part is this silence at the center. The doing and becoming part is the feeling good, being you in the world. And then additionally, I'm a pretty coherent human being. So my human self, which is an ego structure, is pretty good at navigating conflict, is pretty good at telling the truth, is pretty good at setting boundaries, is pretty good at expressing my love, is pretty good, et cetera, et cetera. And I have great respect. Who I am is all of those things. I have great respect for all those aspects of myself. I invite them in all of you. So that's one part of this place that we're going. But central to all of that is that I am permeable to this world. I have no, inside my head, I create how I narrate and meet reality. Walking in these feet on this stage, I am in a co-constructed reality with you. I breathe out, you breathe in, we're inside of each other. I come from a perspective that one of the assumptions of this place that we're going, if we get there, is that we are working to be in a shared reality while respecting that each of our ontologies, each of our internal realities might be different. So that's another fundament of this ceremony for a small planet moving towards what I'm playfully calling the ecocosmic age. And in that, the primary thing we're trying to get good at this time around, so we got good at internal subjective. You can meditate, go inside, find God, be with your subjective experience and your thoughts. We got good at objective. We made speakers and microphones, and we were like, oh, these materials are like this. Objectively, it works this way. Does that make sense to you guys? Or objectively, we could probably agree that you all see me from slightly different angles. That's how the objective functions. Many observers will see the same thing from the perspective they're seeing that. But usually you end up agreeing, you agree that the carbon molecules are carbon molecules, for example. That's not arbitrary. It's objective. So in this third age, this ecocosmic age, we become good at a next stage, which is the relationship between things. For example, the relationship between my internal reality and Johnny's internal reality, that have met a couple times during this festival and had a really fun time, interacting as two unique ontologies, in other words, unique ways of being. And the recipe has been a good one. And I don't need to know that we agree on everything in each of our heads, but we can agree that we're both laughing and that it feels good to share this thing that only exists because we're sharing it, this good feeling, yeah? So that's an example that we all came here seeking, is more of that felt sense of inner being and relationality. And this age that we're moving to, one way to think of it is if we get there and we're successful, we get there because we become exquisitely good at relationship within the context of a shared larger reality, which comes down to watersheds, and it comes down to a lot of things, but it comes down to context that is physical and social. So, I'm I didn't know how long this would take. And I think I have, how much time do I have? Half an hour? Yes!
Come down when you're ready.
Awesome! Okay. Yeah, way before 6. We're going for 5:30. This is great. Okay. So, here's what we're gonna do. Yeah. I love this feeling. I feel like you're with me. It feels really good. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little time to invoke the ceremony for the small planet, this small planet, and to feel into the ancient future we come from. Now, there's a couple ways we could do this, and I'm going to just crowdsource for a minute. So, functionally speaking, a lot of us will still be here in 30 years, and we're going to have to navigate some pretty hectic climate timelines in the next 30 years and other timelines. So, should we go for 30 years, or we could go for the first time an ancient future memory came through me was before that story, and I turned into myself 300 years from now in a circle with Dr. Will Tagle, who some of you might know. He was a local elder here. He ran the Earth Tribe with Judith Yost. He was my elder and teacher. And at the end of this gathering with him, like, this energy came through me, and I walked in the circle, and I was like, so I'm 300 years old, and this is how we got to the future I come from. So what do you guys feel? Like, should we go for 300 or 30?
300.
Heard. Excellent. This is fun, because 300 we can make some real progress. We could reinstantiate old growth forests. We could there's all kinds of things we could do in 300 years. You never know. And some of the mystical tech combined with functional tech that I've heard about here is making me really excited. We can probably do it faster than we ever thought. So, thank you for joining me. Will you?
Hello, everybody. My name is James Ryan O'Keefe. Yeah.
This is an instant collaboration manifestation. Thank you, James. So, James,
So good to be here. Solarpunk, thank you for closing us out. Your presence is so immaculate right now.
it's so beautiful.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you. Live first time guided meditation. This is so fun. Okay. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And I want you to follow these ripples of sound along the rippling, kairotic time waves, like you're traveling through an ocean that is both infinitely deep and wide and circular, and also has a wave-like continuity. And as you travel along that ocean of time, I want you to see, I invite you to see kind of like the film Charles showed, like your own soul taking on incarnations, nurturing the love that you feel here, the deep, deep, fierce medicine love for the Gaian project that brought your soul here in the first place. This indigenous knowing in all of us that knows what it is to live in reciprocal relationship, in sacred reciprocity with the world we occupy. This indigenous intelligence that is feeling, is sentient. And I want you to see yourself surrendering bodies and birthing yourself again into a new possibility, bringing the gifts from the life before. And as you do, you bring the things that fascinate you. You bring this evolving intelligence that's built on all previous lifetimes. You bring an increasing acceptance of the constraints of a Gaian system. How majestic. And the way in which humans uniquely can bend those constraints and collaborate with them, bringing the currencies of our consciousness, the currencies of gratitude and praise and grief and witness and art and design and story. And how our bodies and our souls are navigating this timeline in ways where we're finding new ways to interact between the biotic world and the technological world. Like engaging this experiment that we engage so innocently, so creatively, with increasing restraint and discernment. And some of us went to clean up the trauma, to hold space for the rage. And some of us planted trees, lots of trees, and some of us did it with our hands, and some of us built robots, and we loved each other for it. And sometimes we fought about it. And then we found a new way to synthesize and synergize and be better symbiotes. And we're getting close to that 300 mark now. And just feel into how many lifetimes you've walked. Maybe you walked the whole thing in one body. Maybe you reincarnated as your own great-granddaughter. And your eyes are wise and knowing. And you walk through those death realms, and you walk through those storms. And you learn to collaborate with rivers. You learned to harmonize with the forces of nature. And your soul has a unique flavor for that, a unique feeling for that. Your soul brings its own collaboration with this creation, and you have learned and you have loved.
You have loved, you have loved, you have walked 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Finding yourself in that life 300 years from now, in that world 300 years from now. And claim it as home. Paint it as home. Smell it as home. Hear the birds. See those new species emerging where there were holes in the ecology. See those ancient species rerouting in their deepest integrity. Imagine a bit fewer of us, a bit wiser, some gentle form of planetary governance in solidarity with bioregions, perhaps our relatedness with other beings from other Gaias. What is this world like for you? And what did it take to get there? In this future I come from, we know ourselves as the ones who came home. In this future we come from, we know ourselves as the ones who came home.
The ones who came, it's the ones who came back home.
And set your roots down in that ancient future self. Land in this body with a felt sense of that self. If you know that person's name, that incarnation of yourself, claim that name. And gently, gently, gently begin to bridge from the eyes closed inner world into this eyes open, eyes wide open, this world with a bridge to that future self.
The ones who came, ones who came back home.
Coming back into our shared space.
The ones who came, it's the ones who came back home.
Welcome back, ancient ones, ancient future ones.
Oh, welcome back, welcome home. Oh, welcome home. Ancient blood and bones and on the throne we all ascend, we all have known our lives, we all must know each other. We all will intertwine. We all sisters and brothers, mothers and fathers, strangers and lovers, looking out for each other, learning to grow the future. 300 years sutures from now, we are the ones who came back home. We are the ones who came back home.